to Jenny Thermo-Crazy Kitchen. Today I'm going to show you another favorite dish from our cooking experience menu, and that is the Salmon Velute dish. Great because I can show you a couple of different functions the new TM6 has to offer. One of them is browning the onions, a blending mode I will show you, and also how we can steam, use the steamer, which is called the aroma. And I know for some of you it has a little bit of a thing to it not to use it, so today I want to show you how easy it is, and totally you should embrace the aroma because it's a great attachment and it gives you more volume to your food and just more variety and fun. So now I hope you can see my screen. I brought up the recipe, and all we need to do is click on start cooking, and we're going to start with 1 clove of garlic. So I've chosen a big one this time just because I love garlic, and I want to show you how incredibly these blades do work with just chopping 1 clove of garlic. That was it. 3 seconds, and I'll show you how this looks like inside the bowl. Wow. And no stinky fingers. All I need to do is click on next, and it'll tell me to scrape down the sides. Clicking on next. Now we're adding 30 grams of olive oil, and here you can see it brought up the scales automatically. So all I need to do is weigh in the olive oil here on the top and see how the scales are going up, and that's all. And in these steps, just look at the picture. The machine always wants us to put the lid on top and insert a measuring cup as per default. And what we're doing here, we're going to saute the garlic for 3 minutes on 120 degrees and just speed down. Okay, after 3 minutes we have sauteed our garlic, and that smell, that's just amazing and starts your mouth watering. So now we want to weigh in 200 grams of brown onion cut into wedges. So that's the way they're supposed to look, and we're going to weigh in just to 200 grams. And now, instead of the measuring cup, the picture tells us it wants the splash guard to be inserted, or in this case the splash guard just sits there loosely on top instead of the measuring cup. And I tell the machine, yes, that's done. And now you can see we're using the high heat function. So 4.5 minutes maximum temperature, which is roughly 160 degrees. And instead of having the dial with the speed from 1 to 10, I only have that frying mode. And this is how it sounds. Turning it on, the blades will now shuffle around the onions that I've just added and make sure they're evenly distributed. And now you can hear the blades have stopped. Can you hear that sizzling? Nothing better than the smell of fresh sauteed onions in the house when you start the cooking process. That will get everyone out of their rooms and asking, what's for dinner, Mum? Alright, so we have been called by the machine. Now the sauteing is done, and I quickly want to show you how this looks like inside the bowl when they have caramelized their wok beautifully in the bottom. So when I turn around with my spatula, you can see we have the browning happening, or the caramelization happening there in the bottom, and that's exactly what we want. That's where the flavors are hidden, and this is how we release them. And you can see how they've already changed there in colors. So, but we keep on cooking with the caramelization there on the bottom, and it will be lifted during the cooking process. Popping my bowl back in, And in the next step, we're going to add 500 grams of water. Next, and that's 1 tablespoonful of vegetable stock paste. In the next step, you just add that. That's obviously also homemade in the Thermomix, and I usually use my food scraps to put them in the veggie stock paste. All right, clicking on next, it wants us to insert the simmering basket. So the simmering basket adds another level of cooking with the Thermomix. So in the bottom we have now the caramelized onions with the garlic and the water, and now we're adding another level of cooking by inserting the measuring cup, simmering basket. And here on the screen I get instructions to weigh in 220 grams of leeks. Here it says the white part only. You can also use the green part, obviously, so whatever you prefer. And so we measure now the leek into the bowl, into the simmering basket in just in one go. And because it has set the scales to 0, it doesn't measure the simmering basket at the same time. In the next step, this is where I wanted to show you. So now we have one layer already in there, and here you can see it has brought up the scales again, but it's zeroed it back. So it wants me to weigh in now the potatoes. All right, so now it's been zeroed back, and all I need to do is weigh in the potatoes, and they can go all the way in. And in the next step, so I will close the lid. So whatever you put in there, just make sure the lid closes completely. So I've prepared my salmon steaks already on the steaming tray. I've decorated a little bit with dill, salted pepper, and some fresh lemon on top. And using that steaming tray means that the drippings won't go through my Thermomix, through my Varoma layers. That has a couple of benefits. First of all, my daughter is not a fish eater, so I won't contaminate the soup with the fish from her perspective. But also, it keeps the vents from my trays here clean, and I have just made my life a little bit easier for the cleaning up afterwards. All right, so we have done the step. Instead of the chicken, we have put in the salmon, and now it wants me to put the lid on top and let's sit the Varoma on top. This is how this looks like. All right, putting the lid on top, and here we go. 17 minutes is now the steaming time for my salmon. It has automatically set the temperature to Varoma setting. That's the highest temperature setting you can manually choose. And it wants us to go on speed 1. And I see you again in 17 minutes. All right, so it says to carefully remove the tray with the salmon. So when we're opening up, let me show you that this way better. So when we're opening up the lid of the Varoma, we always open it up away from us, so this way the steam can escape out to the back. And all I need to show you is how beautiful does my salmon already look like. Ooh. Early up. Because I had 17 minutes, nothing to do. All right, and I love them in separate colors. If you're doing, you can make this dish also very low carb. Instead of using the potatoes, just replace it, for example, with canned pumpkin or with cauliflower florets, and instead of the carrots, just replace it with maybe green beans or whatever you can have and you prefer. So it doesn't have to be exactly that vegetable, that type of vegetable. All right, so we've weighed that in and reinserted the chicken. Actually, I think my Salmon doesn't need more steaming, so I'm not going to insert that again, but I'm going to put the lid on top. And I am steaming that for another 5 minutes. That's all the zucchini need. And again, go on speed 1. And time is up again. And I'm always opening the lid away from us. And here we have the beautifully steamed tagliatelle. And I'm going to pop them in one of my oval thermoservers to keep them warm until I have finished this dish. So now comes the next step. So it wants us to remove the simmering basket. And obviously now you can't touch that with your fingers because that's hot. This is when our spatula comes in handy. And notice that little hook your spatula has there. This is how we take the simmering basket out of the Thermomix. So I've got a little trick here for you. So you could either go straight in here and hook the simmering basket up to take it out, but because the TM6 has that lid and I don't want everything to splatter, I open up the lid first with the help of my spatula, and now I hook it up. And this way, let me show you, when I take it out, and in the next step, I'm supposed to put the content of my simmering basket back into the bowl. So I can just pour it in without having the lid flapping over. I do like that little spatula trick. Okay, and in the next step, so I've already added that, we're popping the lid back on and inserting the measuring cup, or MC. And now I want to show you the blending mode. So this is new to the TM6, who has a blending mode. And blending is for your hot food. As I always say when I deliver my Thermomixes, turbo is for cold food and blending mode is for hot food. Don't mix them up. And this is how it sounds. Wow, the power of the Thermomix in the blending mode is just second to none. All right, now that blending has created a very smooth texture of our velouté soup. And velouté is actually French and means velvet, and that's referring to the texture of this soup. That's how the dish got its name. All right, so what we're doing now is we are just pouring a little bit of the soup out, so not everything. We leave about just as much in there to keep our blades covered with the soup, so we can see the blades coming up. And this here is the soup. We're going to set it aside in a separate thermoserver again to keep that warm until it's time to serve it up. And now we're going to add 1.5 tablespoons of either creme fraiche, or I use sour cream, works quite as well. And in the final step, we're adding 2 teaspoons of Dijon mustard. Obviously that works also very well with our already very French themed dish right there. And popping the lid back on and give that 10 seconds just on speed 3 to mix it up. Et voila, that's all. Now we have also made a sauce out of the rest of the soup. So we zhuzh that up with the sour cream and the Dijon mustard. So this sauce will later on go on top of the salmon together with the zucchini. And but first of all, we're going to enjoy the soup as a first round and then going straight to the main. So that's it. So I hope I was able to show you how beautiful and how easy the Varoma is to use. That's all. There's not much more to it. It's not getting any harder than this. Not easier either though. So I hope you are now inspired to give it a go. Dust off that Varoma from the kitchen cupboard or wherever you're hiding it and start using it. It really brings the next level cooking, no pun intended, yes intended, to your cooking. So make the most out of all layers when it comes to cooking. Join us on cookiedo.com.au for further inspiration and yummy recipes from all over the world. And I hope I see you next time. Thank you. Oh, yum. I think I'm gonna lick the bowl.